All right, just a little YouTube short. I'm gonna be talking about the thrust. Faye, Piston and Pixie Dust, Faye Hadley has been over and we've shot some videos for her channel and shot some for my channel. And I'll actually have a long-term video on setting the thrust. This is the main on a Dodge. Ford has it here as well. There's the thrust. By the thrust, I mean the thrust bearing. Chevys have it in the back. A lot of different cars have them in the front. All that is awesome, but when I'm talking about setting it, is there's a register here. That's called a register that keeps the cap from moving this way. So once you put it back down, it's going to go back in the register and be perfectly round. That's why they have a register there. All caps have a register. That's fine. But what keeps this cap this way, moving back and front? Well, there isn't anything really. The bolt does have a little shoulder, but it can even move. I can tap this cap right now and move it this way or that way. So in setting the thrust, we put the bearings in, we put the crank in, we snug this, then just barely loosen them. And then we go ahead and hit the crank from the backside with a nice big hammer, and it sets the thrust. What it does is it's gonna push the top until the crank hits here at the bottom. Then we're gonna come this way and we're gonna hit the crank this way. Then it's what it's gonna do. It's gonna move it all the way until the crank sits at the bottom. So we're using the bottom thrust, moving the crank back and forth to set the top thrust. Why is it important that we set the top thrust? If it's off, we're not gonna have the right clearance. We're gonna have one this way, one that way. We may have too tight of clearance and we may burn up a thrust. But if you burn up a thrust before, it may have been because it was offset, and that offset little lip on the bearing while the crank is riding will actually wipe the oil right off of the thrust. So we want the top and the bottom perfectly parallel. We want the clearance to be correct so that we have a place for oil. If the crank gets slammed, and it will, to the back or to the front, it's hitting the whole thrust bearing, not just the bottom of one side and the top of another. And like I said, can actually wipe the oil off the thrust, causing you problems. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set the bottom and the top of these right here to where they're not offset. We want them perfectly set and parallel, setting the thrust. So anyway, watch some of Faye's videos. I'll have a video out this weekend and actually talk about setting the thrust, how much clearance we want, automatic, standard, boosted, a lot more in thrust etiquette, I guess I could say. Anyway, have a good one.